about something a little bit different from like the other speakers we're here talking about. I am going to be focusing a little bit on the importance of public education, but a lot more on the activism to get, to open up the eyes of some people who, don't really know that their voice can make a difference. So I want to thank Daniela for having me today to come here and speak. So a little bit about me. I'm a mother, I'm a writer, and I'm a social activist. And I like to spend my pastime getting out there and, calling the big wigs out on things that they're doing wrong. So I'm going to start with an article that happened to run across yesterday from Chris Hedges of truthdig.com. The article is titled, "Why the United States is Destroying its Education System." And Mr. Hedges opens his article with this. Quote, "A nation that destroys its system of education, degrades its public information, guts its public libraries, and turns its airways into vehicles for cheap, mindless amusement becomes deaf, dumb, and blind." He goes on to say, "Teachers, their unions under attack, are becoming as replaceable as minimum wage employers at Burger King." Kind of like what the speaker said prior. Wow. And the article also features a New York City public school teacher who points out this. Quote, "There is something grotesque about the fact that education reform is being led not by educators, but by financiers, speculators, and billionaires," unquote. Mr. Hedges says, "The demonizing of teachers is another public relations feint, a way for corporations to deflect attention from the theft of some $17 billion in wages, savings, and earnings among American workers, and a landscape where 1 in 6 workers is without employment. The speculators on Wall Street looted the United States Treasury. They've stymied any kind of regulations. They have avoided criminal charges. They are stripping basic social services. And now they're demanding to run our schools and universities," unquote. So I guess with that, my question to you today is, are you going to sit back and let this reckless behavior continue? I know I don't. And you're going to compromise your education you're getting here at William Patterson to a corrupt system so already rich conglomerates can become even richer. I know you're probably thinking, what can I do? Well, I'm only one person, where's my voice? But, the answer I have for you is that yes, one person can absolutely make a difference. In so many ways, you just can't understand. I guess I'll kind of digress and start with the war in Vietnam. 10 long years our soldiers served overseas in a seemingly pointless, directionless war. And the end of an era was brought on by, a large part, by students, not so much unlike yourselves, as well as American soldiers that, and in all ranks and uniforms who refused to fight. It was brought on by corporate entities, it was not brought on by corporate entities or by a silent majority, but by a dedicated group of unified peace activists. Yes, peace activists. The war was very unpopular for those in the audience that remember. I personally was not there then. But the U.S. involvement was just grotesque, and the media was a lot better back then because it displayed a lot of the horrible images on TV, and I think that helped a lot to bring women into the war as well. But peace activists did play a very, very large role. And part of that war, too, was the lack of education funding that was going on, and that kind of sounds familiar, which is going on today. So I'd like to take a minute to talk about war funding versus education, war funding versus education spending. I found a really heartbreaking report on Iraq spending on the National Priorities Project.org website from July 2007. I'd like to read that to you, well, part of it. Keep in mind, this is only Iraq. Okay, Iraq war spending versus education spending, July 16, 2007. The war is costing the nation's taxpayers an astounding $186,000 per minute, every minute of every day. One war. Where do your tax dollars go? Different states and different cities distribute tax dollars differently. What I'm going to read you is an example of a medium-income family in San Francisco. All right, military spending, 27%, with a debt interest of 9%, totaling past and present military spending at 36%. So 36% of your tax money is going to go towards funding wars. All right, debt interest on military is 10%. Income security is 6%. Education, 5%. That's all, 5%. What's even worse is veterans benefits. That's only 3%. Nutrition, that's 3%. Housing, keep people in their homes, is 2%. Natural resources, 2%. And this is my personal, not really favorite, but job training is 0%. And the best is other gets 12%. So pretty much like education, nutrition, and veterans benefits equal what the number would be for other. And this source is the National Priorities Project. So as you can see, military interest on debt and help account for 2/3 of every income dollar of tax spent. What if the money spent on financing the war was instead spent on education? The war in Iraq has cost a whooping, these are big numbers, $443 billion. More than half of people in the United States and most of the people in Iraq strongly oppose the war, yet the fighting and the spending continue. Every state in the United States has contributed funds that were greatly needed somewhere else. One great example is Oklahoma. It is not a particularly wealthy state and has spent over $6.7 billion in Iraq in over only 4 years. This money could have spent on education instead. It could have bought a 4-year college scholarships for 325,624 Oklahoma students, not bad considering that less than 45,000 students graduated from an Oklahoma high school this year. Nationally, the figures are just as distressing. Here's what the money spent on Iraq could have provided in the United States. All right, big numbers. 21,510,598 full-year scholarships to public universities like William Patterson. 7,689,734 new public school teachers. 58,770,981 chances for children to attend a Head Start program. The money could have purchased health insurance policies for 2,665,885 uninsured people and housing for 3,995,293 homeless families. Sorry to throw all these numbers out here, but just to give you an idea that the money is really being poorly spent, in my opinion. So for reasons such as this, I'm proud to say that I've taken a personal interest in letting those in charge know that I'm not happy with how they're doing things. I go to peace rallies pretty regularly nowadays. Lately I've been to Washington, D.C., March 20th, and I marched alongside with a lot of great organizations, Vietnam Veterans Against the War, Iraqi Veterans Against the War, Peace Action, Code Pink, which is a women's organization. And basically I got to witness 130 Vietnam vets and Iraq vets get arrested for civil disobedience in front of the White House. I'm proud to say that I was standing with them, but when they were going to arrest people, I took the option of not getting arrested. I didn't have the money at the time, but yeah, so I watched 130 brave soldiers who fought in wars get arrested because they were defying what the wars were doing, because they know. Recently I was in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to meet Norman Finkelstein and speak with him with the Jersey City Peace Movement, which isn't far from here. If anyone's interested, I can talk to you about them later on. They're just an amazing organization as well. And just this recently, well, after I went to D.C., the next day we went to Quantico, Virginia to protest for the release of Specialist Bradley Manning, who was being held without being any charges for the whole WikiLeaks thing. I'm sure you're familiar with who Bradley Manning is. But he's an U.S. citizen, and he's being held and being tortured on U.S. soil and not being charged with anything. So bye-bye, habeas corpus. So again, today I've been blessed to meet in these rallies some great individuals. I got to meet a longtime political activist, environmentalist, and former presidential candidate, Ralph Nader. I got to shake his hand and get pictures with him. It was great. I also got to meet, as I said, Norman Finkelstein, who is a political scientist and educator for Israeli-Palestinian issues. I also got to meet former Congresswoman and presidential candidate for the Green Party, Cynthia McKinney. I met her in New York on September 11th last year. I got to meet in Quantico, America's most dangerous man who released the Pentagon Papers exposing the lies about the Vietnam War, Daniel Ellsberg. That was great. I also got to meet intelligence officer and 9/11 whistleblower for Able Danger, Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Schaefer. And last but certainly not least, I got to meet former United States Army Colonel, outspoken dissenter for the war in Iraq, Colonel Ambright. Which is how Daniela found me to come speak today. She saw those pictures online. Yeah, so all these different activist groups that I got to march with, it was definitely an amazing thing. The energy was huge. It's great when you have people that stop you and ask you when you're marching in DC, well, what are you here for? You know, and you tell them, you know, I'm here to help stop the wars. And I get a lot of the questions is, you know, well, what can one person do? And I guess what I want to let you know is that one person can really do a lot, because it starts bringing up questions. Well, if you're one person, what can you do? I said, well, I'm talking to you right now. And you're going to leave here and maybe tell someone else about what we talked about. And maybe that person will go and tell someone else. And then the chain will keep going. And then that's how social activism gets done. And that's how people get out in the street. And that's how people initiate conversations. And it starts really with you. It does. It starts with the individual who wants to make a difference, to get out and to start speaking about it and not be afraid to speak about it. You know, I get criticism. It's okay. I got big shoulders. I can deal with it. But you have to be able to accept it because you'll find more and more as you begin to speak and open up that there's more people like you out there that want to talk about it. It's not socially acceptable right now to be speaking about it. So I guess that's really it. That's what I want to talk to you today. And I wanted to go over the slogan that I saw when I was walking up here. One of the chants that we did at the rallies was money for jobs and education, not for war and occupation. And that was a big chant that we were doing in New York over the past weekend that we didn't get too much media coverage over. I don't know if anyone knew. About Saturday there was a huge rally in New York City. Yeah, New York One did a 30-second piece on us, and they said hundreds of protesters out in the streets, but I was on those streets. There were thousands of us. And the report that I got from the World Can't Wait said, which was one of the organizations that was with us, said it was more like 15 to 20,000 people. Yeah, I got pictures. Anyone want my Facebook account, I can send, you know, and you can look at all the pictures we got there, because there is a lot. There's a lot of pictures and a lot of people that were out that day. So, you know, someday you guys are going to have kids, maybe, you know, and the future is going to be theirs. And I know me having a child, too, actually. It's a world out there that really needs a lot of change. And again, I'm going to say it one more time, the change really starts with you. And another quote that I saw walking up here was Mahatma Gandhi's quote. And I'm going to end with that today, is to be the change you want to see in the world. Thank you.